Welcome to the Lighthouse Financial Advisors Money Over 50 podcast with Dallas Davison and Michael Hogue. This information is general in nature and does not take into account your objectives, financial situation, or needs. Therefore, you should consider whether the information is appropriate for you and your personal circumstances. If you require personal advice, please contact Lighthouse Financial Advisors. Here are your hosts, Dallas Davison and Michael Hogue.
Hello and welcome to Money Over 50. Today is the first in a new little mini-series that we've just started. We don't really have a concrete title as yet, but something along the lines of things that people say to their financial advisor. So, Michael, we've been talking about different things that we hear consistently for some reason, and so the first one that I listed for today was, we don't live an extravagant lifestyle.
So that's something that, thinking back, I do hear quite a lot. And it usually comes before or after a client has pitched an idea to deviate from the plan somewhat. So it's a reinforcement of, hey, I want to do this. Yeah. We don't live in it. But we don't live in an extravagant lifestyle.
Yeah, it's fascinating to me because I've noticed it, and obviously that's why I brought it up today, was that it's almost like an impulse that people feel. I guess the other situation I see that is not only when people deviate from a plan, is any time that you look at someone's spending habits, or not even look at it, but you just say, okay, you're currently earning $100,000 a year. You're contributing $20,000 into super, you're spending about $80,000 a year. And people respond with, but we don't live an extravagant lifestyle. And my thoughts are, it doesn't matter. Like, that is what you're spending, those are just the facts. It doesn't, I think the big thing with this is it ties into some underlying issue, or what we're trying to avoid is that we don't want people to, we don't even want people to have to try and justify to us what they're spending, or how much they're spending, or what they're spending money on.
No, that's right. That's a good point. What we want to do is have a realistic, workable plan for our clients that really gives them a great balance of life now, but also into the future. So we see people in extremes where they are top heavy now because they're spending every single cent. And what that means is that they will almost be destined to work till their mid-70s, and or run out of money way too soon. We see other people that are actually saving too much. They may want to, they may not. For some people, that they're saving too much because they just don't want to spend any money, and they're making far more money than they really want to
need to spend
to spend. But for a lot of those people as well, it's common that they want to travel overseas or something like that, but they always put it off. We have to tell them, hey, listen, just go, because you're never going to run out of money. So they're the two extremes. So what we want is some sort of balance in the middle, and I think most people that are listening would agree with that. They want some sort of. They want a good lifestyle now. If you're listening to this, everyone's worried in some way about their retirement because you just wouldn't be interested in listening to this if you weren't, or you wouldn't be a client of ours. So we don't want to live like a pauper now, live like a king or queen later on, and vice versa. We don't want to live like a king or queen now, to live like a peasant down the track in retirement. So it's a balance.
It's an interesting one, because this is, again, we've talk about these different things that questions that people ask, or things that people say to us all the time that we can't really give a glib answer to. Is, someone might ask me, how much money will I need to spend in retirement? And this is kind of where this ties back to the saying of, we don't live an extravagant lifestyle. Is whatever your lifestyle is now, that is the single best predictor for what your lifestyle will be when you retire. There's a thing that people do where it's whatever you're spending now, and this is, like I say, whatever you're spending now, you either have the choice to work on, we are going to need that much money forever and a day, that's how much we are going to spend, or you can adjust it now. What we see where people come unstuck is the concept of, well, we're currently spending $120,000 a year, but we don't live an extravagant lifestyle, and yet in our planning we're working on them spending 70 grand a year in retirement. And that's where it's just going to become a mess. It's not going to work. So I really think there's something about, particularly in Australia, our culture is not geared towards, showy signs of success, where people are almost apologetic in, like as you were saying, whether they're spending more than they should be or spending less than they should be. People are very concerned about, should I be spending more or should I be spending less? And there's this impulse that you can almost see whenever we talk to someone about how much they're spending and how much they want to spend. They feel as though they need to clarify that with, we don't live an extravagant lifestyle. And my attitude is if we compared ourselves to someone living in a slum in India or in a shanty town in South Africa somewhere, yes, we all live an extravagant lifestyle. We all have clean water, we all have shelter, we all have 3 meals a day. We live a wildly extravagant lifestyle compared to them. And then there is probably some oil sheikh in Saudi Arabia somewhere who is, he's got 3 private jets and he's getting another one because he doesn't like the colour of the other 3 or something like that. So compared to him, we live like peasants. And so all of this stuff around how much do we spend now, how much should we be spending, how much should we spend in retirement, and this justification of, well, we don't live an extravagant lifestyle. It just doesn't matter. It doesn't, whatever your lifestyle is, whatever you choose to spend your money on, or however much of your money you choose to spend, that is a choice that you're making. Whether you think of it as extravagant or whether you don't think of it as extravagant, it doesn't matter from our end, from the dollars and cents part, from the number crunching. We don't care whether you think it's extravagant or not extravagant. It just is what it is.
You made a good point there before, where people are spending, in that example, $120,000 net of tax as well. Some people are now, but they keep saying, when we retired, we'll only spend $70,000. And you're right. It doesn't matter to us. What matters is that there's one figure that's right and one figure that's wrong. And working out the one that's right. And then having a realistic plan to get there. What we can say is that it's a real double-edged sword there, because the people that are spending $120,000 a year often don't have spare money to accumulate
to grow their retirement savings.
To grow their retirement savings. Now they need it more than the person that's going to live on $70,000 a year. Because the person that lives on $70,000 a year only needs 7/12 of
what they need.
Of what the person living on $120,000 a year needs. So by virtue of the fact that their expenses are in check and they're living a non-extravagant lifestyle, they have spare money to put aside to grow to where they need to be. So it has to be realistic and it has to be workable. So I think a lot of the problem is with certain people are that they think that there's some sort of magic process there. So when you say, okay, if you are going to spend $120,000 a year, and like you said, that's the best predictor of what they're going to spend in retirement, what they're spending now. Then you either have to work to 75 or you need to put aside $50,000-$60,000 a year towards your retirement savings over the last 10 years of your working life. So and then that creates a problem then, because for a lot of those people they again, we think probably they bury their head in the sand and say, we will spend $70,000 in the future, but
and that's I guess the big thing of why whenever someone says this to me, and it's normally said with the best of intentions of and most people genuinely believe they don't live an extravagant lifestyle. It's just that in our game, I have heard that said to me by someone who's spending $30,000 a year, and I've heard that said to me by someone who's spending $300,000 a year. So I've given up trying to understand what an extravagant lifestyle is, because I don't know anymore. And this is, I guess, my point is that it just doesn't matter. It just is whatever your lifestyle is, whatever you're spending now, is the single best predictor of how much you're going to spend in retirement. So let's just forget about, and this is what we try and work through with people, is let's forget about the emotional side of how you feel about that, and whether you feel like you should be spending less, or whether, let's just look at the numbers and go, well, what you are spending now, you are not on track to have enough to retire, or as you've said, the other side, what you're spending now, you are on track to have far more money than what you need when you want to retire. You then have the choice of, we can either adjust our lifestyle, whether it's extravagant or not extravagant. If we need to adjust it, or if we should be adjusting it, we at least know the numbers of that, and it's not based around what we think what we feel about that, how we feel about what we spend our money on. It's just based around, this is the amount of money that we have to spend, and that's kind of all there is to it. It's a very interesting one that we see all the time, is that I don't know what it ties back to, but there's something, I think, about we human beings, we compare ourselves to people who are around us always, and so we are surrounded by the people around us, and so it's very easy to be able to point someone out and say, well, they spend more than me, so I don't live an extravagant lifestyle. Whereas there's probably someone standing next to you who's pointing at you saying, well, he spends more than me, so I don't live an extravagant lifestyle. So I just think it's one of those things that people say, and I can understand why they say it, but it just doesn't actually add any new information to what we're trying to achieve from a retirement planning perspective. It doesn't, and I don't think it helps people feel good about spending their money either. Like as we've found, the best thing that you can actually do is sit down and work out a plan for, okay, how much money can I afford to be spending? And whether you think that amount is extravagant or not extravagant, if you know that you're on track to do everything that you want to do, you can spend all of that money completely guilt-free. And if someone says you live an extravagant lifestyle, you can put your hand up and say, yes, maybe I do, but this is how much I can afford to spend every year.
I think that's the best way to do that, to actually to look at it and say, okay, what's a realistic amount that I can spend now? And we've spoken about this before. Maybe we're the fools. Like we're doing all this planning for the future,
I could walk outside and get hit by a bus.
Because we have friends that we talk about all the time. And they just don't have a worry in the world. They're not worried about the future. They're not worried about next week or the week after. And for ourselves and our clients, I think there's this inbuilt worry all the time about the future. Now, I'd still rather be us than them. But there is, I mean, there is merit to the. So if someone says to me, consciously, that they want to spend every single cent of their income and more,
and just live on the age pension,
and just live on the age pension, they'll worry about that in the future. I'm completely happy with it. But I think the big problem is that some people kid themselves and try to kid us along. In that they say no, I want to spend everything now, and in the future I'm just gonna I'm gonna cut back to here, and I'll be living a great lifestyle on half of what I'm spending now. So that's I think the biggest problem.
I think you're exactly right there, Michael. Is that that's the main. I feel like this is going to be one of those podcasts, like as you say, the SBS show, where we talk about something for 20 minutes and there's no real ending, there's no takeaway. But probably the takeaway that I'd say is that we see the emotional side of this is that people kidding themselves, or people with interesting emotions around money, and that's kind of the point that I was getting to before of. This saying of we don't live an extravagant lifestyle. It just if you know that you're spending the amount that you're happy with and that is going to allow you to do everything that you want now and in the future, you just don't need to say that. You wouldn't say it. So whenever someone says it is a potential. It's normally something that I dig into a bit deeper, because it sort of worries me a bit that does that mean that they think that magically things are going to work themselves out, or do they feel guilty about the amount of money they're spending now, or is there something here where there's no point doing all the financial planning work in the world if you are not comfortable and happy with your lifestyle, with the way that you're spending that money? And so that's the big thing for us, is to come up with a plan and to really think about your relationship with your money now and in the future, and have a plan in place and know how much money you're going to spend now and in the future, and be happy with that, and go, right, that's the lifestyle that I've chosen for myself. Whether it's objectively extravagant or not extravagant or whatever, that just doesn't matter.
Yeah, look, I think the conscious thought with that is certainly the thing that people
an intentional decision that they need to make.
Absolutely, because it's the kidding yourself is the
dangerous thing.
Is the dangerous thing.
Yeah,
is a real dangerous thing.
As you say, whatever people tell us that they want to achieve, our job is not to tell people that they want something, that what they want is wrong.
I mean, I'm just thinking back to problems that I've had in the past, and there have been clients that we've had to part ways with because and where it came about was I just took money off them, which is a really bad thing to say on air, because financial advisors have been bad financial advisors have been getting into trouble. But what I mean by that is I worked backwards, and I said, you need to be, you're 10 years out from retirement. We need to put $700 a week or $600 a week into your superannuation fund. And they said, we agree to do that. And I took them at their word, and I think they believed that they could do that as well. And what happens is that you get 6 months into that strategy, and then they want to deviate from the plan. So they're feeling. I imagine they're feeling claustrophobic. I don't know because I don't have that sort of feeling. But and they wanted to buy a boat or a more expensive car, and then it was a boat and a car,
and it's always something. It's always something.
And it's always something, and always something. So there's a continual deviation from the plan.
And that's the point that you made. Is when you hear that phrase, like we say, it's a red flag, because there's some emotional reaction to what's going on with your money that has caused someone to say that. So as you said, you've done this plan saying this is just the amount of money that you need to put aside every week to reach your retirement goals. And 6 months later, someone's saying, well, we want to buy a boat, but it's okay because we don't live an extravagant lifestyle. And what you feel, and I've had the same thing, is you're thinking, that's got nothing to do with what we're talking about here. We're looking at a retirement goal that you've said that you want to try and achieve. This is just what needs to happen. I don't care whether you feel like you live an extravagant lifestyle or not. It doesn't change what needs to happen every pay to make that happen.
That's right. And it's funny because you said before, and I think people do measure themselves around their neighbours. And and I'm actually measuring people against our other clients.
That's right.
I'm saying, okay, well,
other people do this.
You're really behind the eight ball here because you've come to me with less money and more debt than normal, and less time, and we need to get you from here to here, quick, smart, which is about where all of your peers are going to end up. And they say that's fantastic. So we put that plan into place, but they obviously feeling claustrophobic in some way. And all of a sudden, they oftentimes will come to you not asking, can we buy this boat? We have bought this boat. And we're the naughty we're the naughty child. And you're going to be mad with us, and we've done this, and we've always said that we can't be more worried about someone's retirement than they are.
That's right.
We're worried about it. We're very worried about it. And in fact, that's where we have had to part ways with people, because we have been more worried about them than about their retirement.
That's right.
And and
that's, I think, one where, as you say, when it's a similar thing where when you hear that now, it's a bit of, whenever someone says that to me, it is cause for me to pause and think, are we heading in the right, are we actually trying to achieve here for this client what they want, if that makes sense. So when that person, if you have that conversation with someone and then 6 months down the road they go, we can't stick to this plan, we don't want to stick to this plan, whatever it is, if they're then making, as you said before, that intentional conscious decision to go, you know what, we know we're going to be short of where we need to be, we're just going to work for another 3 years, or we're going to run out of money, or we're going to dramatically change our lifestyle when we're 70 or something like that, then at least we're all on the same page and we're going. I don't, as we say, it doesn't matter to me whether you are living an extravagant lifestyle now or not, or whether you feel like you are or not. It's just the facts that if you do these things, this is what the future will look like. And if you're happy with that, as you say, I can't be more worried about that than what you are.
Yeah, that's right. And the way that it goes, though, it never goes like that. No. People come in and say, we've been naughty, we've bought this boat, or we've bought this expensive car, or we've done this or that. And it's implied, make some magic happen. So that we can still do what we want. And the only magic that that we can come up with is you have to give us more money every week to pay this boat loan off. And
it's normally not.
And
that's not the answer.
if we cut down your $600 a week to your superannuation fund to $400 a week, then that's going to put you further and further behind. So look, you may have to work an extra 3 years. Oh, we don't want to do that. So. And we're not against owning boats or expensive cars. It just has to be.
I am.
You are. You are. Well, I'm not a fisherman, so I have a good mate with a big boat. So
away you go.
It's fantastic.
but I think this is the other part of it is the point that you say. The phrase "we don't live an extravagant lifestyle." It gets thrown out normally in response to, I want to do something to deviate from the plan, or I want to justify why what I'm doing is out of the ordinary. And this is the other part of it is, I just had this conversation with friends of mine or clients the other day about, they said, we're going to go on this trip, but it's out of the ordinary, that's not a normal expense. And I said, look, I go on the trip of a lifetime every 6 months, which means it's not the trip of a lifetime, which means it's the trip of every 6 months.
Every 6 months,
which means I have to budget for that. And the same sort of thing applies where if every year it's a boat this year and a more expensive car next year and renovations to the house the year after and helping the kids out the year after, that is just your lifestyle. And it's not a situation where you can say, oh, well, we don't normally do that, we don't live an extravagant lifestyle, or whatever you hear. We can only work based on, these are the facts. For the last 4 years, this is the extra amount of money that someone has spent based on what they've said, or it's one that we see even with new clients coming in, where people will say to us, we spend $60,000 a year, we don't live an extravagant lifestyle. And then I'll go, okay, well, you're earning, your net pay is about 90. Where's the 30,000 going? Oh well, I guess this year this thing happened, and this is our point of, it doesn't. That's not solving anything. Just saying or just thinking, I don't live an extravagant lifestyle. You really have to make a conscious choice about what you want your lifestyle to be, whether it's extravagant or not, and then own that lifestyle now and own the effects of that in the future.
Yeah, look, and look, one of the practical ways of making all that work is to get organised. So where I find people fail quite a lot is these expenses that are one-offs, which recur every year in some way, shape or form. Plus the normal expenses such as rates and home insurance and all those types of things are coming in at the wrong places. So a good example. Just recently, I saw some new people, and they had stuff coming out of their credit card, so insurance premiums, and so they kept getting into the situation where every month their credit card was run up, and it was like a big surprise every month. But there was stuff that was coming off there, like home insurance, car insurance premiums, all those types of things. So it's about getting organised practically, and saying, okay, it is what it is.
Yes.
We spend this much.
Yep.
There's going to be, if we anecdotally look at this.
Yes.
3 years ago, we spent an extra $15,000 on a car upgrade.
Yep.
Then 2 years ago, we helped our daughter with $15,000. We paid off some loans of hers or something like that.
Yep.
And last year we got new split systems in the house. So we would say, okay, look, a good practical way to work that would be to set up a separate account.
Yep.
And put $300 a week into that.
Yep.
Which is $15,000.
Yep.
So for next year, when a new $15,000 expense comes up, it's already there.
That's right.
It's already there. So to practically think. And look, great. Best case scenario is you have that exceptional year where nothing comes up. You've got $15,000 in an account. So
that's right.
We find that.
But I think that's a great point that you said there. The first step there is the acceptance that is the situation. It's so easy to sit there and go, it's uncomfortable to think maybe I spend 15 grand a year more than what I've budgeted for, even though anecdotally I can look back and the last 4 years in a row I have. It's so easy to go, no, but those are one-offs, I won't do that anymore. Like I said, the trip in a lifetime that happens every 6 months. It's really just about, as you say, sit down and accept that is the case. And then the practical side of it is, most people can understand that if I need to come up with 15 grand every year for those irregular expenses, I need to put $300 a week aside. But what happens is what we tend to see is that, you can either face that reality as it is and say, I'm going to do that, and I need to come up with $300 a week from somewhere to fund that. It's far easier to go, oh no, we don't live an extravagant lifestyle, we don't spend that amount of money, even though we have the last 4 years in a row. So that's, I think, that two-step process of really coming to terms with what your lifestyle really is and what your lifestyle really costs now and in the future, and be honest with yourself about what that is. And then, as you say, practically put things in place to fund all of that. There's no point. There's no point living an $80,000 a year lifestyle and assuming somehow that it's only going to cost you $60,000.
It's. I just had a thought. We don't live an extravagant lifestyle, but other people that we know do. So, our niece got married last year in Fiji, so we went to that.
That's true.
And our son got married the year before in Bali. We went to that. So for many of these expenses that seemingly just creep up, they're obligations. That it's not even conscious travel. It's not even we want to go and climb Machu Picchu.
That's right.
It's we're going to weddings here, we're going to there. Our friend's 50th in Perth. All of those types of things that come up all of the time. Like they probably come up twice a year for most people. So so especially, if you're most of the people that are listening are in their 50s, so what they have is sons and daughters and nieces and nephews are getting married. And they're all over the place. And that could be in Italy, it could be in Fiji, it could be in Hawaii. They have 50ths, and they have all these other things. So it's these are the other things that we see. I'm digressing here.
No, but I think it's all relevant because it's exactly the same thing where. It is exactly the same thing where every year for the last 3 years, if I look at my own life, every year for the last 3 or 4 years, I've had to travel to at least 2 weddings a year, which is probably a few $1,000s. I could kid myself and say, oh no, I don't live an extravagant lifestyle like these mates of mine that want to go and get married somewhere different. But I'm going to that wedding. I've got to find that
that's
money.
The new destination weddings are the new norm, and that's one of the things that I've seen that have just changed in the last 10 years. Where it's now accepted that I'm going to get married in Hawaii, and everyone's expected to come. And so that is a $10,000 event. Like for a couple, you know what I mean? By the time you book the flights and accommodation,
I'll take responsibility for the whole millennial generation. This is the silliest thing one of the silliest things that we've done is the destination weddings, which are just a huge money sink for everyone.
Well, I'll put my hand up there. So we had a destination wedding in Port Douglas.
And
that's not that far away. But what the thought was that some aunties and uncles mightn't want to come to that, which is terrible to say, but they all went.
There's some sites.
This is fantastic.
Yeah.
The Sydney ones and the Melbourne ones said Port Douglas, North Queensland in June.
Yep.
Perfect time to go. So it was 25 degrees, not a cloud in the sky, as you know.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's one of those new things.
Yeah. But I think that's the point that you're making there, is that you are that is just reality. You know, that is going to happen. And the same thing, even I guess, to go back to the thing you mentioned before, split systems in your house. You know, if you live in Townsville and your split systems break down, you're not just going to not have air conditioning. Yes. That's just not going to happen.
That's right, and which happens roughly every 10 to 12 years.
Yeah. So if you're spending $15,000 on air conditioning every 10 years, there's one of your 10 things that are a one-off expense.
Yeah.
You know, and then so there are those things that you don't necessarily get to choose, and then there are other things that I think what people tend to do is they somehow, and we see this all the time, people think of their future self as vastly different from their current self. And so, you know, we see people who upgrade their car every 3 or 5 years, and then when you say to them, well, what do you need to allocate for a car upgrade? And oh, no, we'll drive this car into the ground.
Yeah.
They've never done that in 30 years. Ever. But, and I can, you know, I'd put a lot of money on the side of saying they're probably going to upgrade that car in 3 to 5 years, but it's sort of easier to go, I don't really want to allocate that $30,000 to upgrade that car in 3 years' time or 5 years' time. I'll just kind of convince myself that I won't do that in the future. And that's a big one that, as we said, with a lot of this stuff of the extravagant lifestyle, all of it ties back to just being honest with yourself about what does my lifestyle actually cost. And if you then are honest about that, and then you sit down and go, okay, well, those numbers don't work. I really need to change my lifestyle, or I need to change what my lifestyle looks like in the future. You're at least working off reality there, not just sort of something that you think or you feel might be the case.
That's right. And look, it's okay to deviate as well from the plan. I mean, there's some deviations that are hard to unwind, like borrowing money to go and do something extravagant that you know. But it is okay to deviate, and like. I'm just thinking back to the number of boot camps that I've done where I'd agreed to eat only certain types of food for 6 weeks and no alcohol. Now, I deviated quite a number of times. So, I mean, we deviate.
Yes.
We all deviate.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, we're not immune to that.
Yep.
But you get back on track.
Yep.
And you still get good results from getting back on track. So it's human deviate. We all do it.
And I think that's a good point as well, is that if you start from a position of reality, if you see the world as it really is for a start, and then whatever you deviate from is at least then, so if someone's currently spending $100,000 a year and they are honest with themselves and are realistic about it, say, well, that's just what my lifestyle costs. I'm spending $100,000. If next year for some reason something comes up, another one of these millennial destination weddings or something like that, and they actually spend $110,000, at least we've allocated that $100,000. Whereas if they've said, no, we're going to spend $60,000 this year, we're a long way behind. You know, we're $50,000 away from that. That deviation is so much further away from what the reality is compared to being honest with yourself, and then as we say, a part of our role is consistently checking in with people and just going, well, if what you're doing isn't going to allow you to achieve the retirement goals that you want, we have a choice there. It's either let's change what you're doing now, or let's change the goals. Let's change what you're working towards, and that's fine as well.
Yep. So, are we at the end?
I think
have we wrapped up? Have we wrapped up enough?
No, there isn't. This is
there
like
is no. It is your stereotypical SBS film, isn't it?
Yeah,
there's a beginning, a middle, and no end.
And people listen to this and go, well, thanks for nothing, guys. But sorry for that. But thanks for listening.
No, we talk about conceptual podcasts, and this is one of our conceptual podcasts where we talk about a theory.
Yeah, but I think the only real wrap-up or takeaway or action point is the reason why we've structured this as a things that people say to their advisor is, if you find yourself thinking or saying to someone or anything like that, the phrase, we don't live an extravagant lifestyle, it's a bit of a it's a good place to just stop and pause and think about it. And it's not, as we say, we're not having a go at you for saying that or for thinking that. It is something that we just see so consistently all the time. People saying it, people thinking we don't live an extravagant lifestyle. So if you find yourself thinking that or saying that or using that as a reason to do something, that doesn't actually help. That doesn't really help you come up with a plan for the future, that phrase or that emotion. So you really just need to put that aside and get back in touch with the reality of how you spend your money. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening to the Money Over 50 podcast with Lighthouse Financial Advisors. We look forward to catching up again soon.